second buck ever with a bull.
First gun kill I felt from it.
My first secure ever with the bow.
What an emotional roller coaster. Highs and lows, and right back to the highs. Oh my gosh.
On to Dusk Outdoors.
See what happens. Let's go do it. Well, welcome to today's episode of Dawn to Dusk Outdoors, and this week we got a pretty cool episode for you. Two of our pro staff members were able to take out on bucks here in Wisconsin, and the first is going to be Jeremy's episode, and he did not have a cameraman with him, and he was able to harvest one of his target deer that he had this year, so we're going to let him talk about that hunt right now.
So this year out on my property in Door County, Wisconsin, we hunted not as much as we normally would have. We had a lot of really bad winds all of October for my property, and we had a lot of trail cam pictures, a lot of bucks again, not as many big bucks as I normally would have. We only actually had 2 target bucks this year on my property. Not to say there's not other ones that wander in or out every now and then, but 2 target bucks. One of them we called Eastbound. He was a typical 10, not real wide, but palmated and higher tines. And then Lefty was non-typical. He had 5 on one side. He had like a 7 to 8 inch brow tine, and then his main beam was more like a big drop tine and came down alongside his head. So those were the 2 target bucks out there. Couldn't hunt, like I said, a lot of bad winds. As you can see, there's an ozonics unit sitting here on the desk. I purchased that, and that allowed us to start hunting the plot, because on one of my food plots on the property, I had both of those 2 bucks coming in during daylight hours all of October, and I couldn't hunt it. And finally I broke down and bought the ozonics. I'd heard so much good stuff about it, went and purchased it, and from what I've used it so far this last year, it worked great. I never was busted. It allowed me to get in there first weekend in November. And actually what was funny was I took off a couple days of work and had an extended weekend, and I had an encounter with Eastbound at about 35 yards, couldn't get a shot off. Sat all day that day in the stand. Neighbor ended up shooting him a few hours after I seen him and couldn't get a shot. And then the next day, the next morning, Lefty came in. I had no cameraman, but I had a couple GoPros going, and got some footage, and I was lucky enough to harvest Lefty. You'll see the footage, and it was pretty cool because it was probably the most jacked I've been in a long time, and I've shot a lot of bucks bigger than this one. But being that it's non-typical, I had history with them, pictures of them. We have so many trail cam pictures. We'll show you some trail cam pics all the way back from when he was in velvet. It was awesome just having all these pictures. Seeing him, I called him in from about 150 yards away. I used a cam call. He called, had him all. My heart was just going, and you can see by the footage I was pretty jacked.
That's Lefty. Pictures of him all summer. He's got a drop tine. His main beam curls down. It was one of the only 2 target bucks I had on this property, and the other one got shot yesterday. Eastbound, I had him at 35, didn't get a shot, and the neighbor on the other property shot him yesterday afternoon. All right, well, here he is. We're on my food plot here in Door County, Wisconsin. This is a buck we called Lefty, one of the 2 targeted bucks we had this year, and the other one was eastbound, a Big 10 that I seen yesterday at 35 yards, same stand, no shot. Neighbor ended up shooting him 3 hours later. So came back in this morning, and literally 25 minutes after open, good light, he came out. I seen him at about 100 yards. Can called twice, and on a dime turned and came in.
Well, what a cool encounter that Jeremy had with that buck, and he had lots of trail cam pictures of him on his Wild Game Innovation trail cameras, and it was pretty cool that he was able to harvest that deer. You know, he saw him a few other times, and finally he was able to come in. Now we're going to look at Macaine's episode. Macaine shot one of the deer that he's been after for a couple years now. He didn't get a lot of footage of him. He got some right in the beginning when he first started coming in, but light was dropping fast, and he ended up getting a shot off just before close. But we'll show you some of the cool parts of his hunt and the recovery on his deer.
Hey guys, Macaine Bushy here with Dawn to Dusk Outdoors. This year I was lucky enough to harvest a buck I call Cyclops. So October 16th came around this year, and go and check my cameras, and there's Cyclops. He's making a scrape. I mean, right at this is right where I walk into my property essentially. And he just hung out on that side of the woods. He was one of the bucks I've had the most pictures of in the 3 years I own the property. The 23rd of October, the night I shot him, I wanted to sit my food plot and the wind just wasn't right. So I actually grabbed my climber, went and crawled in.
Well, it's October 23rd. Back out here on my property in northeast Wisconsin. Hoping the rut's picking up a little bit more. Hopefully we get some deer on their feet, some bucks chasing, or at least starting to seek, but we'll have to see how it goes.
As he's coming in, I tried to set up the camera. As Tyler had said, it was getting dark. I had about 15 minutes of shooting hour left. Anyone that films knows when you're in the swamp and it's getting close to that time, your camera light fades so fast.
Oh my God, I just shot a big one. I don't think the camera light's gonna turn. It got dark in here quick, but oh my God. I'm shaking so bad right now. I'm pretty sure it was Cyclops. Hello? I can't stop shaking. I'm shaking so bad I can't move. I can't. Huh? I'm pretty sure it's Cyclops. Yeah.
When I found my arrow, I found that I had hit him a little further back than I had originally thought. We had a couple options. We could back out and hope to find blood the next day with all the rain, or we can just keep going. We chose to just keep pushing on, and we tracked and tracked and tracked. I made a few phone calls and actually got a tracking dog in the next day. We tried to pick up on the scent, but it was blowing probably 20-mile-an-hour winds, rain just pouring on us. We looked for another six or 7 hours that day. The neighbor where the deer had ran actually had called me. He was going to go and check his cameras to see if the deer, if Cyclops had crossed the path of any of his cameras. That was a no-go. Well, when his dad got home, they went for a little ride on a four-wheeler, and found him. Well, I hit this buck last night. I made a bad shot. Hit him far back. We tracked him until about 1:30 this morning. We tracked him up to the road, almost right back to the trucks he came. I called some people, got a dog in here this morning, and we looked in the wind and the rain, and just no luck. I went home a very sad man today. Wow, what an emotional roller coaster. Highs and lows, and right back to highs. Oh my gosh, he is just such a big deer, such a stud. I got the skull plate back from the taxidermist before he's finishing up. I wanted to see what kind of damage was done. As you can see, he busted this left side off. I've never seen such a crazy base and what he grew and what he was able to do. The whole side is shifted down. It slid right over the top of the eye, practically. And just, I mean, the extra mass and bone he regrew just shows you what a deer actually, how strong these animals are, and what they can do.
Well, that's going to do it for today's episode. We appreciate you watching, and we'll be back next week for the next episode of Dawn at Dusk Outdoors.